Welcome Life Science learners to another installment. Trust that you guys are happy and excited, looking forward to a lesson. In our lesson, we're going to be focusing on a revision of the process of cellular respiration. We know that cellular respiration is crucial to providing energy to a cell. Let's unpack this concept, let's look at some terminology, and as we look at that, we will try and unpack some processes that are involved in cellular respiration. It's important that we have an overview of the terms, we review some of the main concepts, and we look at the process of cellular respiration in detail. Let's get straight into the core concepts. In our lesson, we're going to be spending some time defining cellular respiration. We need to look at what is the importance of energy to a cell. We will look at the process of cellular respiration, and we also need to look at types of cellular respiration where we refer to the process of aerobic respiration, which needs oxygen, and anaerobic respiration, which occurs in the absence of oxygen. We also will make reference to anaerobic respiration in plants. It's important that we recognize that there are different stages of aerobic respiration, which we will discuss in detail, starting with glycolysis, the Krebs cycle, and oxidative phosphorylation. We will also need to look at the uses of anaerobic respiration in industry. And at the end, we will try and compare anaerobic respiration to aerobic respiration. So guys, the terms that are important in this is metabolism. We often get the term metabolism used in our daily lingo. What does metabolism mean? Well, it refers to all the chemical reactions that take place in the body. These include cellular respiration and in plants, processes like photosynthesis. So metabolism refers to the various different reactions. And these all require energy, and hence the relationship to the process of cellular respiration and how metabolism is connected will be discussed in a bit. Metabolism is essentially processes that are controlled by reactions which require enzymes. These processes could either be catabolic, which is a metabolic process in which a complex molecule is broken down into simple, smaller molecules and energy being released. Metabolism also may refer to an anabolic reaction, which is the opposite of catabolic, which is a reaction that requires the synthesis of more complex substances from simple molecules. So essentially, catabolic, if you remember the word cut, so it's breaking down. And anabolic comes from building up, so ascending, climbing up. So we take simple molecules and we put them together and form complex molecules. So metabolism refers to both these reactions collectively, where we find the building up of substances as well as the breaking down of substances. Right? Aerobic respiration, guys, is respiration that occurs in the presence of oxygen. We will mention the structure called mitochondria, and that is the organelle and the site for cellular respiration. The important energy carrier molecule called ATP is the general energy carrier molecule in the cells. It's important that we define cellular respiration. Cellular respiration is the chemical process where glucose is broken down gradually in the presence of oxygen or the absence of oxygen, and that produces energy. So to recap that, so we can learn a definition very simply by looking at what is required in that process. I often remind the learners to look at a definition by drawing out an equation, in this case, the equation of cellular respiration. Let's try and do that by looking at this equation. So as I mentioned, this process produces energy in the form of ATP. We need glucose and we need oxygen, and that will produce energy in the form of ATP, with carbon dioxide and water being the waste products. So simply, it's the process that requires oxygen and glucose, and it produces the waste products carbon dioxide and water, with energy being produced in the form of ATP. And these are both the requirements and the products of cellular respiration. This can be indicated in a word equation or a chemical equation where we see a complex glucose molecule in the presence of oxygen using enzymes being broken down into water, carbon dioxide, and 38 molecules of energy-rich ATP. And so this is the word equation as well as the chemical equation that summarizes this process. It's important that you remember this equation and use this equation to understand what are the requirements or the reactants and what are the products of this process. So guys, why is energy important? Energy is important for various processes in an organism. It's required for growth, for cellular division, for the movement of organisms. It's also required for the transportation of substances, where energy moves substances into and out of a cell. And we refer to that as active transportation. So we see that energy is vital to many organisms functioning. Before we get into understanding the process, we should understand the structure of the organelle in which all of this happens. And the organelle in which respiration takes place is called the mitochondrion. This is a double membrane structure, as you would see. It contains an inner membrane and an outer membrane. And these two membranes enclose a series of folds. And these folds are called the cristae. Embedded on these folds are little structures called ribosomes. And these are the organelles that are responsible for the production of proteins. The liquid part of the mitochondria is called the matrix, and it is in these structures that various different reactions take place. Before we get into unpacking aerobic respiration, we need to know where this takes place. So aerobic respiration takes place in the presence of oxygen, inside the cytoplasm and the mitochondria of cells. Well guys, that's a wrap for this segment. We've looked at the important terms, we've looked at the overview of cellular respiration. Let's have a little break and let's get back and we will look at the reactions and how they take place. See you in a bit.